Alrighty, looks like we are live. Hello and welcome to another edition of Looking for Work. My name is Wesley. I am filling in for Mike Roberts today, who's currently at a conference in San Diego. So I am here to field your questions, comments. Let us know if you're looking for a job, you've got some questions about it, or are looking for some advice. Reach out, let us know. Drop a comment, send me an email. My email should be up on the screen for you. Let us know how we can be helpful in your job search. This is a weekly session, so if you are just tuning in for the first time or have only hung out with us a few times, know that this will be happening every week. So as you continue to have questions or need some input and advice, we're going to be here every Tuesday here at lunchtime. Normally, you get to see Mike Roberts or another special guest. Again, I'm Wesley filling in today. Happy to answer any questions that you may have. Comments are open, so if you're joining us on LinkedIn or any of those platforms, feel free to drop your comment wherever you can. That'll come to me here on my platform. You can also send me an email. I've got my inbox open. Email's up there on the screen. I like to start with the recurring advice that you'll hear us say over and over again on these sessions. Biggest things that you can be doing to help your job search, jumpstart your job search, or help you land that role, going to be networking and working on passion projects. So we are big proponents of going to meetups. Meetup.org is a great place to find some of those. You can look for groups like San Diego JavaScript and those types of communities in the area. You're going to meet developers who are in the same position as you or who were once in that position and are more than willing to help and give what advice they can and help you make those connections. While you're doing that, you want to have something to talk about when you meet people at those events. So it's always good to have a passion project that you're working on, something that gets you excited, something that you're actively building and maintaining that you can show people and talk to people about. So that's the base advice that you're always going to hear from us. That's the starting point that we offer to everyone. Anyone that comes our way, we're going to tell them start there, and you're going to have success. You're going to be able to get the ball rolling very well if you just stick to those two concepts. Awesome. Still waiting for some comments. If you have any questions, go ahead and throw them in the comment box, and I will do my best to answer them and give you what advice I can. If you aren't a fan of meetups or you haven't been attending lately, I think now's a great time to be attending those events. Many groups have made sure that they can accommodate remote attendees, so you have a chance to engage and meet people that you normally wouldn't be seeing, especially given the pandemic times that we're living in. So definitely recommend checking out some different groups and getting connected that way. The most effective way to get your job application in front of the right person is to have someone inside that organization walk it over for you or give a recommendation for you. So definitely the number one place to start is going to be attending meetups and having something to talk about when you go to those meetups. Passion projects don't need to be anything too complex. You don't need to be reinventing the wheel or coming up with anything groundbreaking. I think just demonstrating that you can build something, you can deploy it on the web, and you can make it live and accessible for other people. Those two big things that you need to be able to demonstrate when you're looking for a junior role as a front end developer or full stack developer. It's definitely important to showcase those skills, especially if you are coming out of a boot camp program or don't have quite as much experience. It's all about what you can do and being able to prove that. So having a passion project or two things that aren't straight out of your code school curriculum or aren't just the starter projects that you find on documentation sites. That's really what you want to be building. So pick a hobby that you enjoy or pick an interest of yours and build something around it. Try and find an API that has data related to your interests and pull that data, display it, do something with it. There's a lot that you can do. I think a pitfall can be maybe trying to come up with some groundbreaking project or new idea, but really it's just about building and showing that you can build and deploy things. Let me know what questions you have. I can keep talking about passion projects and meetups. Happy to dive into any other topics that would be helpful for folks to explore. Pulling up my other screen here, make sure I'm not missing anything. Awesome. Let me know what questions you have. Let me know how I can be helpful. My background is in full stack development as well as data science, so I've seen a wide variety of projects. Lately, my role has involved hiring folks and reviewing portfolios, so I do have some insight into what I look for and what I've seen others look for in these situations, whether you're early career developer or you're looking to climb up maybe into a mid or senior level position. Let me know what questions you have about that, or if there's any advice you're looking for. I'm happy to share stories or my thoughts on just about anything. So drop me a comment, let me know how I can be helpful. Think we're hearing a lot these days about labor shortage and there being a lot more jobs than people out there, and I think it's definitely noticeable when looking at the job market in general, but sometimes it can feel like that's not the truth when you're an individual applying for a job and dealing with some of those rejections that may come back, or the companies that love to ghost their candidates. It's frustrating, but it's certainly a numbers game in my experience. So there's a balance that you need to strike between quality and quantity, but you definitely need to play the numbers game. So some common mistakes that I see are developers that get excited about one particular opportunity, and so once they've submitted their application and maybe they hear back about a phone interview, they kind of let off the gas and they stop applying for other positions or other roles. And I think that can be a big mistake, because when you lose that volume, and if it doesn't end up working out with that particular role, you've lost a lot of your momentum. And so it's hard to kind of climb back from that. So um, some of my biggest advice, once you feel like you are networking, you're getting calls, you're getting opportunities, and you have a portfolio that you can showcase some passion projects that you're proud of. The next thing that you need to do is just make sure you're keeping up the volume, applying for a wide variety of roles, not letting yourself get too caught up in maybe the specifics of the job title, and really digging into the job responsibilities and letting that guide you. I think this is true in all areas of development, and you can especially see it in fields like full stack development, where you might not be working equal amounts of time on the front end and the back end. Data science and data engineering is another area where titles get conflated and things get mixed. So um, yeah, it's important for you to just keep up the volume and really dig into what the job responsibilities are, the day to day. That's going to be what you should use to kind of guide your decision making there, in terms of which jobs you apply for and which ones you don't apply for. Volume's important, definitely important. Still looking for some comments or questions. If you have anything that you are curious about, any advice you are looking for, uh, any questions about your particular job search, I am happy to help, happy to give my feedback, talk to you about my experience. Awesome. Again, if you're just tuning in for the first time, this will be a weekly recurring session. Next week we'll have Mike Roberts back in the MC chair. He'll be back answering questions. He's out at a conference this week, having a lot of fun doing so, getting to do some of that networking that I talked about that's so important. Definitely a fun time. If you've never had a chance to go to something like San Diego Startup Week, or any of those conferences that draw a large, diverse crowd and folks from all around the county. A lot of fun to do so. You get to meet some real interesting people, hear some great speakers, opportunities to learn a lot. They're a lot of fun. We'll give it a few more minutes. Not seeing many questions roll in here, so I'll hang out for a few more and see if anybody's got any questions or things that I can be helpful on. Otherwise, we will tune out and check in with you all next week. So let me know. Let me know how I can be helpful. Let me know if you have any questions about the job search. Thank you to those who are tuning in. Always appreciate having company as we hang out and talk about the job search. Again, my email's up on the screen. Let me know if you have any questions. Send them my way. If I don't catch them while we're here live, happy to respond and have a conversation offline as well. Awesome. So we have a question from Joel here. Do you have any recommendations for getting an entry level position? I will be finishing my computer science degree April 2022. Congratulations, Joel. That's a lot of work to get that CS degree. So it sounds like you're taking a big first step there towards getting that entry level position. What I can tell you is from a hiring perspective, I would want to see an example of something you've built. So I'm a big fan of passion projects, having some app, some piece of code that you've written and deployed online that I can go access without needing to pull in your repo and run the code myself. If you can show me something that you've built up on the web, I'm going to be very impressed. So if you are looking for a mobile development role, you want to have an app somewhere that you can at least get a demo working for someone, or if you're looking for web development positions, deploy something on Heroku, have a web app that you've built that's related to one of your hobbies that you can show to people. So doesn't need to be anything fancy or anything groundbreaking. You're not trying to build a startup or rush to an IPO. But if you can show that you've spent some time building something outside of just your coursework, that's going to go a long way, especially if it's a piece of code that's accessible online and you can point folks to it through your resume. That's going to be a great way to get conversations started. Good question. But if you've got the education, I just want to say, prove it. Show me that you can build what you say you can build, and you'll be in great shape at that point. Once you have some projects you can show off and you've got that degree, even now you can start going to meetups and start networking with folks. Let them know that you'll be looking for a position next spring, next summer, and start talking about what you've built. That passion project is going to be a great way to get conversations started, and the sooner that you jump in and start networking, the better chance you'll have of someone being able to make a recommendation for you and get your application in the door. Great question. Let me know how else I can be helpful. Let me know if you have any follow up, if you want clarification on anything. But I think it goes back to those basics that I'm always talking about. Network with folks, go to meetups, have some passion projects that you can talk about, and the rest is pretty easy from there. Easy. Awesome. Laurel is asking if I've ever worked for a large consulting firm. If so, love to hear your takeaways from that type of employment versus working at a smaller startup. Good question. So I've done some consulting that's more on the freelance side of things, but I've gotten to jump around with some larger organizations. I worked for an e-commerce platform that was definitely a good bit larger than the team that we have here at Creating Coding Careers. So I'd say, some of the big takeaways are, roles are going to be more defined in the larger firms, but you get an opportunity to wear more hats at the smaller companies. I think that's a pretty apparent one. I think there's a lot of value to both, especially if you're earlier on in your career. I'd recommend trying to get experience at organizations of all sizes. I think personal preference gets factored in a lot. Some folks like having more of a well-defined role and not really branching out too far from their core day to day. Other people like the excitement of jumping around and moving around a lot. So I think it's gonna take time and exposure for you to really know what it is that you like. but I think that that also applies to, the technical work that you do as well. So what I realized is, when I was at a larger firm, it was going deeper in a particular knowledge set, and then being here at CCC, it's been more of a broad growth across multiple areas. So I think they're both useful, they're both important, and you'll find what you like as you get some more exposure with them both. Consulting's fun, getting to jump around and talk with different organizations and different companies, tackling different problems is very valuable experience. But it can also be a lot of fun to kind of slow down and stick in a particular stack, or stay on a particular project and really go deep with it. You're going to learn different things doing those different types of work. Great questions. Let me know if you have any follow up. Let me know if there's anything you want clarification on. If you have any other questions, throw them in the comments. Freelancing, I spoke about freelancing a little bit. I think it's tough. Freelancing, as an early career developer, is especially hard, but if you get the opportunity to do so, or are maybe forced into giving it a shot, I think you learn a lot as well when you're quoting your work, keeping time logs of what you do. There's different things that you have to accomplish on that side of it. So definitely give freelancing a shot at some point in your career, even if you just try and do it on nights and weekends. But yeah, it's you're going to get different experience in different areas. Joel had a follow up. Do you have any examples of passion projects I could work on? I was considering building a portfolio as I don't have one yet. That is a great question. I would honestly direct you to start with some Google searches and see what sort of project ideas are out there, but go through the lens of your hobbies and your interests. So if you like playing board games, or you are big into cooking and food, try and work that into your project. Find a data set or an API that has data regarding your interests, and build a web app around that, or build some code around that. I think when you incorporate your hobbies and things you're passionate about, it's going to make it easier for you to work on that project and keep it up as a passion project. It's also going to make it a lot easier to talk about it, both at networking events and in interviews. When you care about what you're building, it's going to be apparent to the people you talk to. So that's where I'd recommend you start. Just Google search passion project ideas, but take it through the lens of your hobbies, your interests. Maybe you find an idea for an app, but you can tweak it a little bit to use data that you care about a little bit more. That's where you want to start drilling. I think it's, again, easy to get caught up in trying to find some groundbreaking or new idea, and you don't need to worry about that as much as finding something that you could see yourself working on consistently over time, and build it as a more long-term project than maybe what you're used to working on in your coursework. Follow-up question from Lexius: would consulting and contract work be the same? If not, how do they differ? So kind of depends. In consulting, you're going to take more of a observer approach. Maybe you're going to be offering recommendations and advice to the team without maybe getting your hands quite as dirty as being like the primary dev on a contract. So I'd say that's a big it depends question, but it can often be the lens through which you're working, either being a core code contributor, or maybe taking a step back and advising the people who are the core code contributors. That would be kind of how I draw that line there. And that'll obviously look a lot different if you're at a larger consulting firm working on a more comprehensive team, or if you're working as an individual consultant, helping out on a project. Great questions. Thank you for sending these my way. Let me know if there's anything I can clarify or follow up on. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. We'll be doing this again same time next week. So if you think of any questions in the meantime, feel free to send them my way. Shoot them over to that email address on your screen, or hold on to it and ask once we go live again next week. Mike Roberts will be back in the MC chair next week once he's back from the conference he's currently attending. think you'll hear some similar advice from him. He's got a little bit more experience, so definitely bring your questions when Mike's back. He's always giving out great advice for free too. He's not even going to charge you. It'll be free again next week. We'll give it another minute or two, see if any additional questions roll through. Otherwise, I'll be signing off and we will check in again with you next week. Thanks again to everyone who's been hanging out, sending questions over. All right, looks like that might be it for this week. Again, that email address is on the screen. Feel free to send any additional questions my way. Otherwise, we will talk to you all next week. Thanks for tuning in.